Unflawed. That is a term that I like to utilize with my clients. Unflawed. Because a lot of people are subjected to ridicule or put in parentheses or limited when they focus on their flaws. But, is a flaw really a flaw when you think about it? Because if you were born a certain way and that is who you are, then how are you flawed? Unless you're comparing yourself to someone else. Now, here's another little story from my experiences that I have, learned from and where I came to this type of thinking, and also how my brand came about in development. Now, I've spoken in other videos about experiencing SA when I was younger and how, it affected me, and my brand came in development because I learned to heal from that by utilizing my sexuality, owning it. But for a long time, I lived in victimhood because I felt flawed because of what happened to me and because of how I reacted because of what happened to me. And a lot of times I would subject myself to certain situations, certain things, certain people, because I felt like I didn't deserve better because of that flaw, that stain that was on my record. However, in healing, I realized that was just a form of, that was a defense mechanism that I had, gotten comfortable with living in, that frequency of unworthiness, because I didn't really want to deal with or face any of that. I rather buried it that made it disappear. That did not work. So, I learned to accept me for who I am. Stains on record and all. That's what brought me to the realization that when you live truly from your own blueprint, there can be no flaws. I don't care what your issue is. Now, in honesty, we all have something about ourselves that we wish was different, that we wish we could change, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to, when it gets to a point where it paralyzes you from doing things, or where you're constantly repeating negative statements to yourself, then that's when it's unhealthy, and it's really time to heal from that and start to reprogram your thinking as far as whatever it is that you don't like about yourself is concerned. Your blueprint is your blueprint. That's the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have a blueprint like anybody else. You can look on social media and see the girl with that looks like she has a perfect body, that looks like she has the perfect marriage, the perfect kids, the good job, a business owner, the movie star, the celebrity. Stop wasting your time comparing yourself to other people. You're never going to be anybody besides who you are, and you're basically wasting precious time trying to wish that your blueprint was different. Live from within, from your own perspective, from all internal thoughts and internal feelings. And any negativity that you hear or has been replayed in your mind, change the channel. Replace that tune with something else. Just like you wouldn't listen to a song that you don't like on the radio. So stop listening to negative thoughts about yourself and stop saying negative things about yourself. Change the channel. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. The mirror is your best friend. Get in there and start to see your reflection and not your projection. Not what you project you wish you looked like. Not what has been projected to you of what you should look like. Not the thoughts and the programming that you have received from magazines and movies and all of that stuff. Y'all do know that a lot of those people are, having tons of makeup. You all do know that, they take technology and make those people look their best. So you're wasting time. You can admire somebody, but wishing you were that person is only going to make you feel worse about yourself. It's not going to help you look like that person. Now, I'm not going to speak against plastic surgery and all of that. If that's what you feel you need to do for yourself, then do it. But just know, that's not going to help you gain self-worth either. Because if you do a nip and a tuck here, and you still don't feel worthy inside, then you're not going to stop nipping and tucking. And you still not going to feel good about yourself. Your blueprint is unique. Start to live internally from that. Learn to love you unapologetically. I know society has created these words to make you feel like loving you should be measured from the outside. The words conceit, full of yourself, oh, she's a bitch, she's a bougie, she's snobby, in relation to feeling good about you. Those terms I don't accept. Those are labels that from the outside, from someone that you have never met, telling you just how much you need to love you. Only you need to decide that. And what you need to know is you need to love yourself completely, unapologetically. You get one life. You get one body to live that life in. You might as well enjoy your time here. Because trust and believe, there's a lot of people who would rather trade places with you. There's a lot of people who've gotten older who look back on their life and realize how much time they spent making other people's opinions of them so important. They would tell you, don't waste time worrying about what other people think. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite inspirational speakers says that her grandmother told her that other people's opinions of you are none of your business. I think that's one of the best statements. It's such a mind-blowing chain breaker. Gets the chain off your mind, and you will not believe how much freer you feel when you don't constantly consult other people's opinions about what you should look like, what you should do, how you should wear your hair, whether you should wear this much makeup, whether you should wear makeup at all, whether you need to go get a BBL, whether you need to lose weight, whether your hair should be another color, whether you should be ashamed of where you work, whether you should care about what they think about who you date, and etc., etc., etc. Be free to love you unapologetically. Period. Inner reflection versus outer reflection. This is what I mean by seeing your reflection and not your projection. A lot of us don't even realize that the thoughts that we constantly run through our minds about ourselves didn't even come from us. If you review it, a lot of the negative things that you're saying to yourself, thinking about yourself, feeling a certain way about yourself, has come from an external source. Maybe it was a person in your life. Maybe it's society. Maybe it's TV shows, movies. Now social media is so big, and everybody's snapshots of their perfect moment is meant to perpetuate that they always have perfect moments, and you're comparing yourself to that, which is not true. Perfection does not exist. Perfection is an illusion. And if you're living from your blueprint and you're feeling like you're not perfect, then whose blueprint are you comparing yourself to? Because show me a perfect person. They don't exist. I don't care what they say, how they, are perceived. If you have to deal with perfection, then perfection needs to come directly from you just being you. Create your own lane. I love this statement. I stay in my lane, because that's what I do. I don't have time to be worrying about how my neighbor's garden is growing bigger than mine. That's not my issue. I stay in and keep the weeds out of my own garden. That is one of the best perspectives to have in life. When you're constantly worried about what this person has and what that person has and how they do it and this and that. Like I said, it's okay to admire people. It is okay to covet what they have, but not to the point where it becomes negative and it makes you feel bad about yourself because you're constantly worrying about them and seeing them as competition. And for women, we do that a lot. Women, a woman that looks good and she's walking down the street and another woman, her face is frowned up, and all of a sudden you done messed up her day because you showed up just being you. I experience that all the time. And I've learned that you can't take that personally because that is something that's within that person, and your energy just may highlight that. Or maybe it's you. To be honest, when I was younger and going through, what I was going through and feeling dark, I, used to feel a certain kind of way around certain girls or whatever. Just to be real about it. I'm never going to come on here and try to pretend like anything, any advice or, things that I'm sharing with you is something that I haven't experienced. Every video that I do is tied to an experience and what I've learned from it and how I can help, other people overcome that. Because like I said, as women, especially black women, we need to learn to share our experiences. Because when you get beyond the window dressing of everything, you realize that we have more in common than we don't. Every woman has experienced hateration. Every woman has experienced, heartbreak, disappointment, has some trauma in her life. So why do we constantly pretend like we're perfect and nothing, affects us? Or if we share, what is affecting us or what we have been through with one another, that it lessens our value in some kind of way. People's perception of you is just that. It's their perception of you. And try as you might to run as many marketing campaigns as you want to, you can't manage other people's perception of you. It's just as simple as that. So you might as well create your own lane. Decide for yourself what works for you. What decisions you're making, where that comes from. Is it your own thoughts? Is that what's best for you? Not what other people have told you what's best for you. Not what other people have told you they have in mind for you to grow up and be. For you to date this kind of person, live this kind of way. All of that. Design your own lane. Live confidently from your own blueprint. And watch how life flourishes for you. How doors open up. How you start to meet and attract people who help you experience this experience called life a lot better. Watch how it allows you to grow and evolve as a stronger person. You will be surprised when you learn to be open and to be naked in public. Naked in public. Vulnerable. I know this is hard. I used to feel like that. I hated feeling vulnerable. And I didn't learn, to be real with you, I didn't learn how to truly cry for my emotions until I got into my late 30s. Believe it or not. I think at that time my daughter probably had seen me cry maybe 5 or 6 times. And majority of those times was at a funeral. At a funeral, I could cry. Because everybody else is crying. So I didn't feel some type of way. But most things that made other women cry, I didn't cry. I suppressed it. And I moved on. I had to figure out, how to move on from that situation. And I would tell myself, oh, we'll cry later when we get the problem fixed. When I would fix the problem child, I was just going on back to doing me. Never cried. But it caught up to me, trust me. It caught up to me. And, I was so filled with negativity and overwhelming in such a dark place, I didn't know what to do with myself. So allow yourself room to grow and evolve. The best way to do that is to learn to forgive. I know a lot of you think that I am telling you to inject yourself with bleach when I say learn to forgive. First of all, you have to accept whatever issue it is. And then you have to learn to forgive yourself. And then, yes, you even have to forgive the person who did that to you, who did whatever to you. Forgiveness is not a weakness. Forgiveness is a strength. And when you forgive, you do it for you. You're not giving the person or the issue, you're not validating it as being right or wrong. But what you are doing is freeing yourself from the emotional ties that not forgiving keeps you bound to the situation. Forgiveness, very key in opening up space in your own lane. And lastly, gratitude. A lot of people overlook gratitude, but gratitude is a very powerful emotion. Being gracious for who you are, where you are right now. We all have room for improvement. Like I said, perfection is an illusion. We all can grow, we all can learn. But having gratitude for where you are helps you show the universe that you know that you aren't in control. And holding on to things that didn't work out, holding on to past loves that, went sour, holding on to material things that you may have lost. All of that stuff is just like a chain on your body, holding you back and telling the universe that you feel like you should be doing something else, that you should be in a different place, rather than being grateful for where you are. Because trust and believe, the moment you show gratitude, become comfortable, and release all of that, you'll realize that where you are is where you put yourself because of your thinking. Your thoughts are your experiences in the physical world. That is just as simple as it is. Your thoughts are your experiences manifested in the physical world. So if you start to think with gratitude, you'll be able to realize maybe it's certain lessons that are keeping you in this place because you haven't been paying attention to the lessons, and you keep having to repeat them to learn from them. What you've been doing is focusing on yesterday, what could be, where you should be, rather than being grateful for where you are. And then you can focus on building and working the steps to get to where you may need to go. You may be focusing on negativity. You may be focusing on negative people in your life, rather than being grateful about having people in your life and just accepting people where they are. Some people, true, you have to meet them where they are. Some people, you have to leave them where they are. What you don't have to do is spend time being regretful about those people. You can either accept those people or you can remove those people. But being grateful that you have human connection. Take it back when there was a time not too long ago where human connection was almost forbidden. But I digress. But we're built to learn. And every time, every situation and every experience is a learning opportunity, if you choose to view it that way. Just learn to have some gratitude. Gratitude is important. This is something that I had to learn a while back. That being gracious for even those experiences that I have deemed negative. I've always said that my worst time in my life was the worst time in my life and the best time in my life. Because I was broken down to the hubcaps. But guess what? I got to rebuild myself in a better, stronger, brighter version. And now I'm here sharing it with you. Go over to flygirlglitter.com. Click the link in the description box and learn to live from your blueprint. And in the meantime, stay clear.